Hello, this is Ted Larkin, Safety Director here at Berglund Construction Company, and this safety video is on the importance of performing a pre-use inspection of the various pieces of equipment, power tools, and hand tools which you may be using throughout your workday. OSHA requires a pre-use inspection be performed on the equipment and tools that we use, and this is first and foremost in place for your own safety as well as the safety of others who may be working in your general work area. On powered equipment, such as skid steers, rough terrain forklifts, better known as lulls, or other brands, boom lifts and scissor lifts, these daily inspections absolutely need to be documented. And this is to ensure that they're being done, as well as there are occasionally times in which we have to present evidence to our customers and clients showing that these inspections are in fact being completed as required. So performing a daily pre-use inspection on a piece of equipment, a powered hand tool, or a hand tool in general, can keep us from using equipment that is damaged or otherwise unsafe to use. Going along with this is the importance of always using the tool, piece of equipment, or power tool as directed by the manufacturer. That's always such an important component of safe tool use. Using a screwdriver, for instance, as a chisel is a bad idea. Using a pair of channel locks as a hammer, if the channel locks were not intended for use by the manufacturer to be used as a hammer, is also a bad idea. You want to pay attention to those little pieces of safety advice because they could help you out farther down the road. So, when we're performing inspections on the larger pieces of equipment such as boom lifts and skid steers, scissor lifts, telehandlers, or lulls, you also always want to refer to the operator's manual of that piece of equipment, which will tell you specifically anything that needs to be checked on that particular piece of equipment. And if you ever have a question on the safe operation of a piece of equipment or a power or hand tool, you also want to consult these operating instructions because it's got important information in there. Also, please feel free to reach out to me if you need assistance determining if you are operating a piece of equipment such as a skid steer, a rough terrain forklift, or a boom lift or a scissor lift in a safe fashion. And always, please remember to be wearing the proper and appropriate PPE that may be required when you're using either a piece of equipment, a power tool, or a hand tool. And one other piece of advice is when you're doing your daily inspection on the larger pieces of equipment, always make sure to grease the areas that are specified for that piece of equipment. Performing regular maintenance such as greasing the piece of equipment performs such a value-added service by you, the operator, to ensure that that particular piece of equipment does function smoothly and safely and won't have any maintenance issues that develop because of a lack of grease. Thank you for your time and your participation. And now, let's go take a look at some of the various pieces of equipment we just discussed. Okay, so here we're looking at a telehandler, rough terrain class 7 forklift. We commonly refer to this as a lull. So when you first walk up to it, again, you want to take a walk around it and observe its general overall condition. You don't see any major cracks. The engine cowling isn't broken or otherwise distorted. The wheels and tires, the lugs are all in good shape. Take a look behind it. You don't see any leaks here on the rear axles, and your steering control rod, your tie rods are in place. Everything is good, and there you see the backup horn there. You don't see any leaks back here. The cab glass is good and in good shape and not broken. Everything over on this side is good and in shape and not broken. Again, the tires and lugs are all in good shape. Now, when it comes to tires and lugs, if you see sometimes occasionally you'll run into a tire that may have a little chunk missing out of it here, As long as the chunk isn't too big or there aren't chunks missing from several of the lugs at the same spot, that shouldn't cause you a stability issue. And so now you'll take a look at the fork carriage and you don't see any major leaks or any fluid dripping. The hydraulic cylinder for your tilt is in good shape. Here, taking a look at the boom on the telescopic rough terrain forklift such as this, you want to make sure that none of the wear pads have fallen out of the boom. So take a look in there, and you don't see those are falling out. Obviously, check the condition of any lights that might be installed on the unit, because they're there for your convenience. Again, we see no leaks. The fork, this fork pin is so important because that's what connects the forks to the carriage themselves. On telehandlers such as this, they're only supported by that upper pin. There's no bottom support for the forks. So you always want to make sure that that pin is in place, and the keepers on both sides of the pins are installed and in good condition. Take a look at the carriage backstay. That looks good. Everything looks good so far on this unit. Now when you open the cab door, take a look at the overall condition of the inside of the cab. Housekeeping is so important. If there's mud or clutter on the floor of the cab, if there's a bunch of debris, that obviously could impede you from operating the piece of equipment in a safe manner. So you always want to sweep out the cab and make sure that there's not an accumulation of debris or rags or anything else down at the bottom of the cab there that could somehow get your foot caught up between the pedals. Take a look at the overall condition of the dash and the other controls. Everything looks to be in really good shape here. Again, the overall condition of the unit. Now this box back here, right there, that's where the operator's manual is kept on this particular piece of equipment. And it is an absolute requirement that the operator's manual be kept in these pieces of equipment for reference by the operator. And one last thing here when you're looking in the cab is make sure that all the warning stickers and decals are in place in the cab, because they are there for your information and your knowledge. So after you take a look at the overall exterior condition of the unit along with the cab interior, what you can do now is you can pop the engine compartment and you can take a look at the engine overall and the hydraulic system in this unit along with the transmission. And here again, you don't see any major leaks or puddles or anything gathered. Your engine V-belt is in good shape. All the systems are looking good. And here again is your oil dipstick. You always want to make sure you check the oil at the beginning of your shift. In the event that there's a situation where this unit runs out of oil, that's not going to bode well for the operator who's been running it. Here right there is your master battery disconnect. That plays an important function on these types of equipment because that keeps the battery from draining if the unit has been idle for an extended period of time. Plus it's a measure of security because that key can be removed, and if that key is turned in the off position and removed, this unit won't get a battery charge and it won't start then if someone tries to steal it or otherwise vandalize it. So shut the engine hood and you're done there. One quick thing here is I'd like to mention this unit's equipped with mirrors, so you want to make sure that those are in good condition there as well. And all these systems are functional. The exhaust pipe is in good shape. And that's pretty much what you want to look at when you're inspecting a telehandler, but you always want to make sure to inspect those things on the checklist in the operator's manual as specified by the manufacturer. Here we're looking at a rough terrain scissor lift on the job site, and this isn't much different from what we should be looking at an electric scissor lift. You want to take a look around at the general condition of the unit, and as you're walking around it, again, you want to see that the lugs and the wheels and tires are all in good shape. No distortion of the tires. Lug nuts are all in good condition. You want to take a look at the lifting arms and their condition on the unit. And then you want to move up to the platform guardrails, and you want to see that they're all in good condition. This particular unit has outriggers on it, so you want to make sure that the outrigger jacks are in good condition. And here, this unit's got some wood mats that get placed underneath the outrigger pads themselves. Again, just taking a look at the overall general condition. Looks pretty good so far. And here, when you get over to the engine compartment, you want to take a look and make sure that there's no leaks or anything that's going to inhibit you from operating the unit. You want to take a look at the engine itself. You don't see any major leaks or any drips or anything that would cause the unit not to function correctly. Again, you want to check the oil on a daily basis. There's the dipstick in front for that purpose. Just take around, lap around the unit, check the overall condition. And you also want to check the ground that you're operating on as well. Make sure that's in good enough condition to support the unit, that you're going to be nice and level, and there should be no distortion from the ground. And as I mentioned, that should be followed also when you're inspecting an electric scissor lift. Pretty much inspect the same things, and you also want to remember to inspect whatever the manufacturer wants you to inspect as well. Here's a boom lift that is currently being used on a job site here up at the James Lovell VA hospital facility, and it's the same thing as what we've discussed before. Is you want to take a look at the overall condition, do a quick walk around, start with the wheels and tires, make sure that the lug nuts and the tires are all in good shape. Take a look at the overall condition of the unit. Looks good. While you're over here, you can pop the engine compartment. Take a look at the engine. You don't see any leaks. Everything seems to be in order there. Again, the dipstick is right in front, so you want to check your oil on a daily basis. Make sure the oil level's good. Go ahead and shut the engine compartment. Continue on a walk around here. The overall condition of the unit's good. Take a look at the lower chassis again. If you ever see any dents or cracks on a unit, it's always a good idea to make note of those on your daily inspection. First and foremost, if it's prior damage, so you don't get blamed for it. Again, take a look at the wheels and tires on this side. Everything's good. You want to take a look at the cable rack. Make sure that that's in good shape. The boom sections are all in good shape. Again, you don't see any wear pads falling out on the thing. Everything looks good on your jib. You want to take a look at the platform, make sure that the guardrails are all in place on the platform. You always want to make sure that the platform itself is kind of neat and orderly, so there's nothing that could fall out of it and hit someone on the ground unexpectedly. Take a look at your controls. Everything looks good there. There's the equipment manual there that should be in the box. There's a first aid kit here for our convenience. And on boom lifts, you always have to make sure that you're wearing a proper fall protective equipment as required, because this is absolutely necessary when operating a boom lift. So let's take a look at this skid steer, commonly referred to as a bobcat. So when you first walk up to it, you want to note its overall condition. You want to check the glass and make sure that the glass is still all in one piece and it's not broken. That's important because you don't want to be the one that's blamed in case the glass is broken. So you always want to make sure that the cab glass is still intact. Now when you look at the front of it, you want to make sure that the carriage is in decent shape, and these locks that are down here right there are so important to make sure that they're engaged, so the carriage that you have installed, whether it be a fork carriage or a bucket, is proper and it won't fall off or become disengaged somehow. So you want to take a look, and you want to look around and see that you don't see any hydraulic leaks or any fluids coming out of it. Take a look at the tires and make sure that the tires are all good and that the lug nuts or the wheel studs are in place. Those are all good. Take a look at the lifting arms for the bucket or the fork carriage. Everything is in place there. These bolts here are so important. They're called banjo bolts, and they're to make sure that the cylinder pins are still in place. So it's always good to make sure that they're all in place. Again, we don't see any leaks in this particular piece of equipment. Everything looks good. There's no big gouges or dents in the piece of equipment. Take a look up top, same thing. You don't see any leaks, all is good. Now when it comes to the engine compartment, it's always smart to take a look at the engine compartment, open the door, and you don't see any major leaks. You see some residual oil here on the engine, but that's old, and an experienced operator could tell that. So you want to always absolutely positively check your engine oil, and that's usually why the dipstick is in front. Take a look at the overall condition of the unit. Everything looks good there. So feel free to close the engine compartment and get ready to operate it. Taking a quick look around the other side of the unit here as you're walking up to it. Now when you get inside the piece of equipment, you want to make sure that the controls are all in good shape and the joysticks are functional. And once you've determined that everything is good, then you can feel free to start it up and check the operational functions of the various systems. And if everything checks out on this unit, get your daily pre-use inspection completed and turned in, and everything will be great. Thank you.